Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 1161 to 1162 for the 29th to the 30th of April. And a happy May Day to you, and may you press the like button and subscribe button. And happy birthday to you if your birthday today, and may you have a happy birthday. So it's getting lame. So anyway, so let's start off the SITREP. We're gonna start off this time around from the Kherson front. So we go anti-clockwise. So at the Kherson front, we have shelling reported over the past 2 days at Valentensky, Antonivka, Sadove, and Tokarivka. So Russian forces allegedly was attacking in the Dnipro direction. Unknown exact place is unknown. It's reported by the Ukrainians as usual. So there's some attacks around here, probably here, and there is a geolocation of a Russian airstrike. Russian airstrike in the industrial island of this industrial island of Korabel Island. So that happened. Otherwise, that's all from the Kherson front. We move on. So let me adjust my seat. So get comfortable. So we move to the Zaporizhia front. So this is the Zaporizhia front. This is Zaporizhia front. Over at the Kayamsky and the Orikhiv sector. So this Kayamsky, Orikhiv. The Russian forces attacked over the past 2 days at Kayamsky, Lubkove, Stepove, Perlivka, and towards Novodanilivka. So these are the few places that the Russians attacked. As usual, the Kayamsky sector is still the main the main offensive operation sector. There is a geolocation of the Ukrainian tank getting hit by FPV drone of Novoyakovlevka. This is behind the Ukrainians' main line of defense. So there is basically no news about how this is going. The Russians have been attacking this area for a long time. We do not have any updates on the mapping. So and any geolocations of Russian forces in new positions. So this is a bit sus, if you ask me. So over in the Hoyapole sector, there is no fighting being reported except a destruction of a LDPE. I have actually tried to find what the hell is LDPE. I fought with the AI because literally you can't find anything on this, and even the AI struggled to identify what it is. After a long time, finally it's concluded that this is actually a weird translation of the short form in Russian for the forward operating base or temporary deployment point. So that is what it is. So basically it's just a forward operating base that is getting striked. So yeah, so now we know what's LDPE. Unless you want to think that it's a form of plastic, that also works. So over in the Koma front, so this is Koma, and this is the Koma front. Over on the western flank, we have fighting being reported. Let me see whether I can zoom in, zoom out. No, I can't. So let's zoom in a bit. Fighting is reported at Zelene Pole as well as Rivnopil. So still no updates about how the mapping how the front line have changed. No changes is noted. Further up north from this position, Russian forces are attacking Shevchenko, Bulatske, Vinipole, and Privyone. So this is the main push in this direction. There is an alleged Ukrainian defense line behind Shevchenko. Not sure how real is this. The Russian forces also established a more favorable position, a stronger foothold into Vinipole. So this is getting really bad. So for the Ukrainians, but the Ukrainians are really trying their best to defend this place. You have to give credit to them for that. Over in the rear positions, Koma and Pipdone was shelled. For the one at Koma, there is actually a missile strike and artillery shelling being geolocated inside of Koma. So that corroborates part of the report. Over nearby on the east, we go to the Andriivka sector. We have fighting reported at Andriivka towards Oleksievka, Konstantinopil, and towards Bahate as well as Odradne. So while the strategic situation is the same, there is major frontline changes all around this sector. Particularly, we have the geolocation of Russian forces just off Bahate, and this geolocation confirms the Russians' capture of all these grounds. southeast of Bahate as well as west of Rosleaf. So this also means that the Ukrainian forces, if they exist in Constantinople, is basically stranded, because the Russian forces also have pushed down from the Andriivka region, cutting the road, any pathway in the north of the Voschar River, which is here. This is the Voschar River. So they can't cross the river. They can't cross any grounds anymore from the north of the river. So the only road left is here, through a very, very dangerous path between the river and the Russian forces. And according to Ukrainian mapping, the Russians also have taken all of the south of Constantinople. So this is the current conundrum that the Ukrainians found themselves in. And you can see the river is over here. The Russians are geolocated in the north of the river, along the river. And the Russian forces have been geolocated previously around here, along the road. So this is the only opening that the Ukrainians can retreat or resupply. And which means that we're probably going to see the fall of Constantinople very, very soon, within the next few days. This is really hard to hold. This is getting impossible. It's becoming yet another impossible salient. So that's all from the Andriivka sector. So over in the Pokrov front, so this is Pokrov city. This is the Pokrov front. And over in the southern flank, we have fighting reported over at Nediivka, Kotelevka, Troyske, and Bodanivka. So this is largely the same. Over at Kotelevka, I believe I may have mentioned this, but the Russian forces have taken the grounds in the east of Kotelevka. So that happened. Over further north from this position, over in the Pokrov sector, fighting is reported at Vivrove, Kotline. There is some frontline change over at Udashne. Fighting is reported at Novosahievka, Uspenivka, and Novo-Oleksandrivka. So over at Uspenivka, the Russian forces, according to Ukrainian mapping, have captured most of the town. And we're probably going to see the capture of Uspenivka being reported very, very soon by the Ukrainians themselves in the next few days, I believe, if they would. No, sometimes they wouldn't. At Udashne, the Russians also have a stronger foothold over on the northern half of Udashne. So this is cut through by the railway line. There's a Udashna railway station around here, you can see. So, and over in the Minokhrad sector, we have fighting reported towards Pokrov, at Shevchenko, Novoukrenka, Dechanske, Lysivka, Promin, and shelling is reported at Khnativka. So this is the Minokhrad sector for the past 2 days. Generally, I always say that this is a very stagnant front line, so I don't expect too much frontline changes over here. Nothing drastic to be expected here. We move further to the northern sector. So in this sector, the Russian forces are attacking towards Oleksandropil, Tarasivka, Berezivka, towards Novopotavka, Melanivka, Yelizaveta, Novotoreske, as well as Marolubivka. So the Russians are pushing basically every direction, literally everywhere. Frontline changes is noted over on the east of Vodyane Druhi, where the Russian forces captured the forest in this sector over here. So this entire forest is taken, and with this, most likely there can't possibly be Ukrainians around here, because there's a lake over here. So this likely is also should be under Russian control. But we shall wait. We shall wait for a while. We just gonna leave that there for entertainment purposes. There is also another forward operating position getting hit by something. I didn't see the footage, so it's not very important. Artillery shelling, missile strikes are commonplace nowadays. Real position, there is shelling reported at Yablonivka as well as Zoria as we move into the Torsk front. So this is Torsk, and this is New York. We usually cut the front line like this, which looks nothing like anything. Over in the New York sector, we have fighting reported over at Novospassky, which is also known as Petrivka. Fighting is reported at Sukabalka. Towards Stara Mykolaievka, shelling at Zoria, and fighting is reported at Kalinove. So over in Sukabalka, there's some slight frontline change according to the Ukrainian mapping. Not very significant per se. It's just capture of the forest, which is the logical progression of things around in this sector. So nothing particularly shocking about this. Over in the Leonidivka, Skibinivka region, the Ukrainian forces geolocated in the south, in the middle of Skibinivka, confirms the Ukrainians have taken back grounds around this banana-shaped frontline change. So that's all from this sector. Over in the Toreks region, we have fighting reported over at Krimsky, Toreks, Pivnishne, towards Dashne, Druzhba, as well as towards Dilievka. So this strategically nothing much changed, but we have frontline changes. Noted that the Ukrainians have considered that the Russians have advanced in Toreks, as well as the Russians capturing huge amount of forests in the northwest of Pivnishne. So the Russian forces taken a lot of grounds around here, as well as inside the city. So we will continue to monitor this front line. It's very difficult. Like I said, it's before a long time ago. I never expected the Russians to go for Toreks and New York, but they did. So it's very interesting that they try. So this is the patch of forest that is taken by the Russians, and of course this part of the settlement is now given up by the Ukrainians. The Russians claim much further. They already claimed the entire of Toreks. They did announce the capture of Toreks. So yeah, so it's not like there's just no waiting for more clarification in that sense. Shelling is reported in the rear position at Ivanopilia. It could be an attack. It's very hard to tell. So that's what it is. Moving into the Bakhmut front. So this is Bakhmut, the famous Bakhmut city, which is also known as the Wagner land now. Fighting is reported in the southern flank, at Priteshne, west of Andrievka, Bilohora, Kodyomivka, and Ilievka. So there is this seeming push along this front line westward, but I cannot 100% confirm that this is meaningful. A meaningful push. It looks like it's happening, but we shall wait for more frontline changes, because it could be just skirmishes. It could be just some kind of a diversionary attempt to draw Ukrainian forces into defending a pointless place. So the Ukrainian forces may be drawn away to deal with a potential attack when the real attack is coming at Toreks. There is a possibility. So don't always presume that every attack report is an attack per se, like a real attack. In the central northern flank, we have fighting reported at Chasivia. Shelling is reported over at Pidilske. Fighting is reported towards Marolubivka, Maiske, Khorivka, and Minkivka. So you can see a lot of fighting around the Chasivia sector. But I don't think it's real. I don't think that it's something that is very meaningful for now. There's a geolocation, however, in the forest at the west of Rykhorivka, confirming Russian claims. So this invalidated Ukrainian claims. So the Russians did indeed capture the forest around here. So otherwise, that's all from this area here. So this is the Ukrainians shelling Russian positions. We move on to the Siversk front. So this is the Siversk front, and there is mention of Dronivka. Fighting is reported at Bilohorivka, Volkomokonyamske, towards Siversk, and towards Zvanivka. So Zvanivka is interesting. We haven't seen Zvanivka being mentioned since February. So this is a very unusual report to have Zvanivka mentioned. So let's see how this continue to develop in this Siversk front. Nothing particularly stands out for me, in my opinion. We move on to the Toreks front. Sorry, Lyman front. Sorry, not Toreks, Lyman. Lyman is over here. So this is the southern flank, and this is the northern flank. In the south, we have fighting reported over at Koloziazi, Myrne, Yampolivka, and Zarichne. and a very, very shocking geolocation. Just dropped before I wanted to do recording. Russian forces have been geolocated in the north of Torsk, and arguably you can call this also ZARICHNE. And this geolocation shows that the Russians are back into this northern part of TORSKE. So, not Torsk. I keep saying Torsk. No, it's, yeah. So, of TORSKE. And I've mapped it in the judgment call to map it like this, with the Russian forces taking a lot of grounds and coming back to this northern part. Previously, the furthest point I think the Russians have reached is around here. So, you know, they are now deep into the settlement itself, corroborating the possibility that the Russians are going to cross, attack into ZARICHNE, hit into the rear positions. Because honestly, there's no point to go into the going to the south. Right? There's no point. Why go deeper and then allow the Ukrainians to hit you very hard? Go into the rear positions, no? Right? No, go into the rear positions, no, create havoc in the rear, and then TORSKE will be undefended. So, no, that's how I look at this. So so that's all from the southern flank of the Lyman front. In the northern flank of the Lyman front, you can see a lot of icons happening around here. So fighting is reported at Kharkivka, Makiivka, Nevsky region, Novomikhailivka, Novy Mir, Urikhodub, Nove, Lipove, Zelena Dolina, and Kolozyazi. So so we need to break down this a bit. So let's go to Nove first. I have reported this in a separate video. Russian forces has been geolocated inside Nove and confirmed the capture of Nove. The Russian Defense Ministry have also announced the capture of Nove publicly. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, they have been captured by the Zapad group of forces. So that happened. So by right, this used to be a puppy. It's supposed to be like this. No, it's a puppy. No, it's very cute. And yeah, no more. Because the Ukrainians say no puppies. No puppies allowed. So now it looks like, I'm not sure. It looks like a bird with a horn. I'm not sure what is that. So there is geolocation of Ukrainian forward positions getting hit by the Russians. So that happened. And then over in this Nevsky Makiivka region, Russian forces have also captured huge amount of grounds around here. This is confirmed by Ukrainian mapping as well as geolocations. Russian forces managed to advance greatly, but technically not a lot of change per se, because there is still pretty much the same geography, another 3 to 4 times more to go of the same thing. So it's not like drastic development. Like you can see this entire gully region. There's one here, another one, another one, another one, another one. Then and then three-line-ish gully, then another one, another one, another one. So it's basically the same thing that the Russians have to go through many times. So I don't expect too much excitement from the Russians, about their missions ahead. It's gonna like all looks the same. So that's all from the northern flank of the Lyman front. And we move on to the Borova front. So this is the Borova front. We have the two-pronged attack continuing over here. In the strategically is the same. We have fighting reported at Nadia, Novosahiyevka, and Svetoklibove. And over in the northern pincer, we have Zarizove and Novokrolyakivka. So there's nothing particularly special about all these things. I don't want to change the color of this. So nothing special about this. Over in the Kupiansk front. In the past 2 days, the Kupiansk front looks a bit busy. We have the mention of Stepova Novoselivka on the 29th. It was not reported on the 30th. The last mention was on the 8th of April. So, this is a rare instances of Stepova Novoselivka being mentioned. And there also seemed to be a new effort in the south with Novo Osinove and Khrushchevka is being mentioned. Khrushchevka is mentioned on the 30th. Novo Osinove also was mentioned in the 30th. So, maybe the Russians want to try something new around here. We're not sure. In the north, we have fighting reported at Petropavlivka and towards Kupiansk, which is pretty normal. Shelling reported at Kupiansk, Vozlovy. which is not important. Shelling in the rear. Shelling reported at Osinove, also, or Osinovo, not important as well. And so that's all from the Kupian's front. Although I have to say, I want to complain. The Ukrainians are very inconsistent with their use of language. Like, this is Novo Osinove. It's the new Osinove. But here they still use the old spelling of Osinovo. Make up your mind, Ukrainians are very confused. So over in the Voreshna front. So this is Voreshna, and this is the Voreshna front. In the southern flank, we have fighting reported at Moskovka. Maybe it's a shelling report. I mean, it's not impossible. Shelling is also reported at this place called Nesh Volodivka. So we have never seen this place mentioned before. So it's a very, very weird report from the Russians. They also mentioned Doroshivka. Doroshivka is already mentioned to be captured by the Russian forces. They have announced the capture there. And fighting is still being mentioned at Voreshna itself, according to the Ukrainians. So this reported by the Ukrainians. Sorry, it's the Russians. The Russians say that they have captured it in January, but they're still fighting around here. And Kanyamka, there is still fighting being reported here by both Russian and Ukrainian Defense Ministry. The battle continues because as much as the Russians claim that they have captured it, we only have geolocations to confirm they have captured the main town. The suburbs are not confirmed to be captured by the Russians. I'm quite sure the battles are still ongoing, and it's going to be very complicated to fight here because there's some forest. You can see there's a forest here, there's another forest here. It's weird. Why some forests have trees, some have no tree? I mean, leaves. Yeah. I start to suspect this is just hair. This is just like, the hair here. It's just hair. And then this is just, algae growing on the skin. Very unhealthy, very unhealthy. Try bathing, So it's good for health. Over in it's just hygiene as well. At the Kharkiv front. Nothing particularly new. We only have the mention of Voschansk as usual, and then some geolocation of FPV drone hitting some Ukrainian logistics in the rear, and that's about it. Yeah. The buffer zone is really just buffering, Get a joke? So, it's just buffering. Over in the Sumy front. So, it's no longer the Kursk front, it's the Sumy front. At the Sumy front, over in the how do we do this? Southern flank, or the Belgorod incursion region, but let's call it the southern flank for now. There's mention of Ryazne around here. Tuya, Pokodi, Maropilske, and Veliki Pryokil was mentioned in reports. There's a geolocation of a armored vehicle allegedly destroyed south of Osoyivka. So that's the current strategic situation. If you zoom in this sector, you can see that the Russians are attacking Maropilske, Prokoli, and Tuya. So whether the Russians are really pushing in, we're not sure. We'll have to wait for the intel about geolocations or mapping changes from these sources closer to the front line to know. Over in the northern side, in this Kursk Sumy sector, the Russians are attacking at Moritsia, Saki, Yunakivka, Loknia, and Bilovody. And there's some geolocations around here. These are drone strikes on Ukrainian artillery at Moritsia. So more artillery is getting hit. The drone used is this Onohodek, which is like a Predator drone, of the Americans. And then over at Bilovody. At Bilovody, the Russian forces have been geolocated very close to Bilovody and are basically entering into it, confirming the Russians' advance in this sector. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the previous SITREP, so I'm going to mention this again. And so that's all. The Russians are really, turning this into a Sumy front. There's way more Sumy territory taken by the Russians than the Ukrainians taking Kursk territory. And suddenly running out of breath. Suddenly the throat is very itchy right now. So, it's the Russians' fault. So anyway, one last news. The Ukrainian Sukhoi 27 was shot down over Ukraine, according to the Russians, on the 29th of April. And that's all. So anyway, this is it. So this is the summary for the day of 1161 to 1162 for the 29th to the 30th of April. So do press the like button, subscribe. Thank you for watching. And like I say, may you press the like button and subscribe because it's May Day, and happy birthday to you if you had a birthday today. And I'll see you guys in the next update.